You know, you like to give plants because they have longevity. You like to give fresh flowers because they're beautiful, but they don't last. So if you ever wondered how to incorporate both plants and fresh flowers into an arrangement, that's what we're going to do in this episode. My name is Mark. I'm the owner here at Creative Occasions. It's a pleasure to welcome you to my workroom. Tonight we're going to talk about how you can incorporate potted plants and fresh flowers together in the same design. So I've got kind of the basis of the arrangement set up here. I love this bowl. This is actually a pasta bowl that came from Home Goods, okay? It's one of my favorite containers to work in. I've used it a lot. And basically I've got some little small 4-inch plants. We've used them just as they came into us in their little plastic planter pots and cut a Ziploc bag. And the Ziploc bag we're gonna slip over the bottom of the plant. The reason we're going to do that is this plant is not going to be happy if it's subject to the water level that we need for the fresh flowers. So we need to be aware of the two different water levels and the two different requirements of the fresh flowers and the plant, okay? So I'm going to just slip this one in here. And already we've got a cute little thing going on with the two plants there. I've got some foam that I'm going to do some flowers in both of these. So let's just get to work and see what happens. All right, this beautiful campanula, some people say it differently, I don't know. I just love it. Canterbury bells, I think it's called. I think that's so pretty. So I do want a little bit of height in that. It's going to have a front because I have a little special thing I'm going to put in here for the season. But anyway, we're going to start with that. This is a form of allium. Allium is in the onion family. It's just one of my favorite flowers. That just look like a beautiful little sort of wispy wildflower. Look at the curve in that one. So let's play up the curve and let it sort of pull your eye out of the arrangement a little bit with the placement of that curve. Like that. Scabiosa, beautiful. That's a bigger bloom, so we want the visual weight of that to be a little bit lower so it doesn't, not up in the air, making the arrangement look like it's going to topple over or something. It's all about spring. Are you glad spring is here? I am so glad spring is here. What's your favorite thing about spring? Put that in the comments. And while you're in the comments section, be sure to like and subscribe to the video. Hit that little bell icon so that you'll be notified of new content when we're putting up new things for you to watch. So in the thinking about spring, and when you think about spring and what that means to you, one of the things that I often think about are lots of pretty colors, pastel colors. But for this arrangement, because of this white container, and you know, I always say, let the container speak to you, right? I wanted this to feel like spring, but yet I wanted it to be neutral. And I wanted the emphasis to be on just the textures and the varieties and the shapes and forms of these different flowers. And when you do a monochromatic color scheme, that's what happens. You stop paying attention to the color and you start paying attention to the individual flowers. You look at look at this bellflower, look at these tulips, and you actually notice what the individual flowers are. I think that's one of the beauties of monochromatic design in terms of color scheme, is because it works that way. All right, I'm going to do just a tad bit of foliage in this. I don't want to do a ton because we have two plants in here. So I don't want to, kind of confuse the issue with the textures. I'm going to just give myself another little pour of this. This, you guys, what I'm enjoying tonight is from Brady's Distillery, which is local here in Roanoke, Virginia, where we're filming from. This actually is their whiskey barrel gin. So it's a bit of a departure to feature a gin on my program that's about bourbon. But this gin has been aged for 2 years in old whiskey barrels. So that's the reason it kind of has this coloration to it. That coloration was absorbed from the chard and the color process that happened in the whiskey. I will tell you that this is a great pour. I'm not a big fan of gin. I'm typically not a big fan of gin because it's so floral. It's got all those herbal essences about it. And that's really what makes gin gin. Kind of the juniper element especially. But this, because it's soaked in whiskey barrel, it kind of takes the edge off of that floral note so much. Yeah, So get thee to Brady's and buy some of this. It's a limited edition. They didn't do a lot of it, so if you're interested in that, you need to head out there and get some. All right, a little Lisianthus, just to kind of provide a little more backing in that. You know what? I'm not going to put the greenery in. Change my mind. Because I can, right? I might do this. Hyacinth. What's not to love about hyacinths? Okay, so hyacinths have these big, chunky, fat, fibrous stems. They're really hard to work with when you're putting them in foam. So what I'm going to do is take a Coe pick, which is just a green treated pick, put it in the bottom of the hyacinth. I'm going to trim a little bit of that off because my container is kind of shallow, so I don't need the full length of that in there. And that is what's going to help secure this hyacinth into the foam. You want to be sure and get at least the bottom, quarter inch, half inch or so of the hyacinth into the foam, because that's what it needs to survive. But that Coe pick will make it nice and sturdy and secure, and that's not going to go anywhere. Okay? That'll stay nicely right there. Honestly, I think I'm about finished with this. I like it. I don't know that I want to do a lot more to it. Let's talk about the water requirements for just a second while I'm finishing this up. Because these plants are in plastic bags, you are going to need to attend to them separately. So you're going to need to, kind of reach over and put water directly in this pot to keep this fern alive. You're going to need to reach over, put water directly into this begonia to keep it alive. And then, third element of moisture, you're going to need to pour in the side to keep water in the bowl where the foam is to keep the fresh flowers alive. Okay? As I mentioned in the very beginning, the water requirements for the fern and the begonia are going to be much different than what they would be for the fresh flowers. So that's why they have to kind of be in their own receptacles. We're going to take a little bit of green sheet moss, and that's what's going to kind of finish the edge of this. So it's almost going to look like a little plot of garden. That's also going to help cover up that plastic because you don't want to see the Ziploc bag, right? Now this section of the foam right here that I left kind of plain, if you're wondering, that little decorative accent that I have planned is going to go right there. But I do want to put some moss over that to kind of cover it so you don't see the foam. This we literally are just tucking around the edge. It's going right into the rim of that little plastic pot and between the pot and the white ceramic bowl. So that's kind of what's helping hold it in place. The moss we buy from a wholesale supplier, and we get it in a huge bale. I will actually explore that and see if I can't find a link to a smaller quantity that would be available for purchase for someone who doesn't need a bale. Because it's spring and because it's coming up on Easter, we have these adorable little sheep in the shop. Too cute, right? Absolutely just too cute. So we're going to get this little sheep, and he's going to live here in this little sweet garden that we've made. He has little sticks for legs, so it's perfect because I'm just going to kind of chunk him down into that foam. And look at that. He's peeking over the top of that begonia plant. That is so sweet. And of course, the white complements the white, very neutral colors in this arrangement. I don't know. This is a winner. I think that just needs to go home with Shireen or Jason tonight. What do you think? So this has been fun. I often hear customers talk about not wanting to spend money for fresh flowers because they don't last. And so I'm happy to be able to show you a way that you can incorporate some plant material that does have longevity along with some beautiful fresh flowers that they can enjoy as long as they're pretty. Then the fresh flowers would go away. They would have these plants remaining, and you've given them a gift that they can actually enjoy for years. So this has been fun. Thanks you guys for joining. It's been a pleasure having you here. As always, we appreciate your support. And until next time, cheers to you and to flowers every day.